A lot of the time I make projects out of necessity. I need something, I've been asked to make something, but I've got other things that I'm just interested in doing, and this is one of them. I've always wanted to make a three-legged stool, so I'm going to finally get around to doing it. To make it, I've got a couple of bits of oak. I'll get the top out of one piece and hopefully the legs out of another. I want the back of the seat to be curved, so I'm going to grab some nails and I'm going to get them installed on 3 points on this. So I'm going to mark down on the lines I've drawn 70 millimeters, and then I'm going to mark the centre between the two. A nail can now get tacked in on each of the marks I've made. I've got a metre rule. I'm now going to bend around my nails and then I can draw around it. With the shape sorted, I can now get these pins removed and then it's over to the bandsaw to get this cut out. The cut's a little rough off the bandsaw, so I'm just going to get it put in the vise, grab the block plane and give it a bit of a clean up. And I use the hand plane just to go around all the edges and break the corners. I've given the whole of the seat a sand down. Now I need to work on the legs. So I have this block of oak. I only need 3 legs for this, but I'm going to get it ripped into 4 pieces on the table saw first. Those legs are a bit on the chunky side, so what I'm going to do is tilt the blade over to 45 degrees and nip the corners off them. I think they definitely look better, kind of more hexagonal, but I can break the rest of the corners just using a hand plane. I have the seat, I have the legs, now we need to bring these two together, and I'm going to join them together with mortise and tenons. I'm going to cut tenons on the end of the legs. Now I'm going to use a plug cutter. I've used them before. This is the one I've had previously, so I'm going up in size quite a lot, so I've never done this before. This is a 25mm plug cutter. To be able to cut it, you need to get it on the end. So first, I'm going to have to shave down the end of this leg. I'm just going to pare down the end of the leg with a chisel, a bit like sharpening a pencil. The cutter now fits on the end of this, so now to get it chucked up in the drill and give this a go. That worked really well. I had to drop down the drill into first gear, so now another 2 to go. That all went pretty well. I didn't do the best job of centering the first one, but I think I got better as I went along. Now the transition between the tenon and the leg is a bit scruffy, so I'm going to clean that up a bit using a knife. Tenons are ready to go. Now I need a mortise in the seat. And what I've got to put it in there is a 25mm Forstner bit. Now if I wanted the legs just to be straight in there, I could drill the holes, but I'd like them to be a bit of an angle, and it's harder to drill with a Forstner bit at an angle, and I want them to be consistent, so I'm going to make a template. What I've got is a scrap of plywood. I'm going to start drilling at 90 degrees, and then when I'm down a few mil, I'm just going to tilt the drill bit over and continue all the way through. I'll mark out where I'm going to attach these legs. I'm going to have them at 45 degrees on the front and then 90 at the back. So I'm just going to get some guidelines drawn. I'm also going to get a line drawn on my guide. Now I can take my guide block, get the lines so they meet, clamp it in place and get some holes drilled. With the holes drilled, I could now get the legs installed, but I want to wedge them in place. So first I need to cut a slit for the wedge to go in. So I'm just going to mark out parallel, or 90 degrees, sorry, to the grain where I want the wedge to go. Then it's over to the bandsaw to get some slits cut. I now need some wedges to go into those slots. So I've got a bit of wood that's 25mm thick, which is the same of what the tenons are, or the mortises are. Now, on my mitre gauge, I'm just going to tilt it over a couple of degrees. Now I can get this passed through the blade and cut some wedges. With everything cut, there's nothing left to do apart from actually get this put together. So I'm going to get some glue, put on the tenons, and then get the legs pushed into place. So now, same for the wedges. I'll get some glue on them and get them hammered into place. I'm not sure this is going to work. They were tight to get in, those legs, and looking at them, I can't see that slit I cut. It's closed it up completely. So I could take them out and cut a wider slot, but I think they're going to be tight enough in there like it is. So yeah, forget the wedges. I left this overnight to dry. Now I can trim these tenons flush. With those trimmed off, I now need to do the same with the legs. Unfortunately, my starting position is they're not all the same length. So what I'm going to do is get some bits of wood and shim it up so that I've actually got it level to start with. With it now level, I want to draw around the bottom of the legs so that I can trim them. So I've got a pretty specialist tool I'm going to use for that. I call it a scrapper 3x2 with a pencil on it. So I'm just going to rest that on the bench and draw around the bottom of every leg. With those all marked, now I can trim along these lines. Oh yeah, that sits much better now. One more job I want to do to these legs is just carve the bottom a little, just so it doesn't chip out if it gets dragged around on the floor. So I'm going to get a chisel and a little knife and have a go at that. It's a bit rough where I trimmed all these off, so now I'm just going to give it a quick sand down. So there's a nice bit of oak this, but there's a few imperfections and I'm not happy with how my tenons turned out because of the wedging mistakes. So last year I made this ebonising solution. Oh dear, I should not have shaked it. It's made out of some vinegar and some wire wool, and I let the wire wool dissolve in there and then I strained it. So I'm going to ebonise this. This stuff works amazingly. You brush it on and the colour changes almost instantly. So this really hasn't gone to plan, but this was my first time doing it and the whole point was to learn a new skill. And that brings us to today's sponsor of the video, Brilliant. So let me tell you about them while this finish dries. For me, making things is not just about having a final product to show for it. It's about the journey and what I learn along the way. I've been using a fun and free way to learn new skills, and that's learning with Brilliant.org. Their interactive, fun courses are hands-on and really suit my learning style. There are thousands of lessons at all levels, from foundational, that's where I am at, to advanced. Brilliant is the best way to learn maths, science and computer science interactively, with new lessons being added all the time. At the moment, I'm continuing to try and improve my engineering skills. At the moment, I'm working on this lesson about boiling water. So I turn the dial and see that the water boils. Okay, I'm with it so far. So once the water is boiling, the heat no longer makes the water hotter, all the energy just goes into steam. Okay, I understand that. So if a cup of water is put into the pan of boiling water, when will it boil? Before the surrounding water? After the surrounding water? They will boil simultaneously or never? Well, if all the energy is going into creating steam after that, I'm going to go for never. Yes, I got that correct, and it explains to me visually what's happening, and that just works for me. Why I love YouTube videos, really. So these fun, bite-sized courses are great, as I can fit them in between projects, learning new skills and challenging myself at my own pace. If you'd like to have a try at everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Badger Workshop. There's a link down below in the description for 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. So thank you Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Now let's get this stool finished. The stain's all dry on this, it doesn't take too long, and it doesn't even smell of vinegar. You just have to take my word for that. I quite like it black, but I'd like to reveal some of the oak still, so I'm going to get my carving chisels out. Now with a little gouge, I'm going to go along the grain and make some marks. I'm really pleased with how that looks. Now you've got to know when to stop with these things, but I think I'm just going to do a little more and do it down the front of one of the legs. I'm definitely stopping there, less is more. Now for some finish, I'm going to go for some beeswax oil. This stuff just gets brushed on and should really bring out the colours. Finish is all dry on this, so it's all done. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I like the black, I like the texture on it. Definitely learned a lot doing the mortises on here, so I'll put a link to that cutter, that Tenon Cutter, down below. So thank you for watching. Thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring the video. Thank you to my patrons, and please subscribe for more videos.